Welcome to the Messy Middle podcast and radio show presented by Mother and Founder Co. Each month, guests are invited to share their version of the messy middle and the lessons they've learned along the way. Whether you're in the messiness of growing a business, healing from trauma, or navigating the wild world of parenting, this show is a must. We are excited to celebrate the messiness of life and business with you. And now, let's settle in as host Jen Burwell connects us with today's guests.
Well, hello again. I feel like I say this every episode, but today I am so excited. We are going to talk about the messiness of entrepreneurship, mental health, relationships, marriage, parenting, basically everything we're going to try to get to in today's episode. But I have two of my most favorite people in the whole world in studio with me. We have Kayla Izard and Andy Izard, founders of the Raft Project.
Aww, you're so nice.
Welcome. I'm so excited. Really. I mean, I'm really truly mean that. You guys are special people, and my audience is going to quickly understand why. So I always like to start every show with just give us some ground level context, who you are, where you came from. So tell us just a little bit about where you grew up, your childhood, and who would like to go first? I see some pointing to Kayla.
Oh, yeah, I've been voluntold.
Here we are.
Yeah, so I'm Kayla Izard. I am a Phoenix native, born at St. Joe's. I'm almost 30, not quite
me too.
30.
I was born at St. Joe's.
Dude, I feel like every baby that is a native is basically born at St. Joe's.
It must have been the only hospital.
I think, yeah.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt.
Like, are you pregnant? St. Joe's. Yeah. And so, yeah, born and raised here. My background is in branding, marketing, but I have taken a little break from that to become a mom, and our son is 2. Mm-hmm. And so now it's time to get back out there and pursue something that I absolutely love. So I'm excited. Thank you so much for having us on. We are so excited to be here.
Oh my gosh.
We've talked about it at least once a day since you
thought
asked.
about it more. So,
yeah.
I feel so honored. That's amazing. I'm so excited. I've been really excited for this conversation. So Andy, tell us about you.
Same. Born and raised Arizona. I think St. Joe's too.
Really?
But I don't know. It's been a while since I've checked the birth certificate. But Kayla says yes. So
it was fate.
Yeah.
It was destiny.
They marketed themselves well, evidently.
Yes,
but
they did.
Yeah, we were both homeschooled, so that was kind of a little weird thing about us. Got my degree in psychology and proceeded to work outside of psychology. So
yeah,
kind of did a bunch of different stuff, and now we're doing something I actually really love, and it's really exciting.
I know we're gonna get to it. I promise. It's so exciting to talk about. But before we get there, I want to talk about a little bit of your guys' journey through entrepreneurship and maybe the last, I don't know, 7-ish years or so. So first, Kayla and I met at Max 6, actually at a local place in Tempe. You were working for an agency.
Yeah.
And I've told you this story before, but I just feel like I need to share it again. There was this one time, and I don't remember exactly what we were working on. Kayla was working on some copy for the company I was working for. And she just walked into the room with just this presence that was incredible, and her talent, like you're like one of those people that just like oozes talent. So I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know who this girl is, but I want to be her best friend, and she's amazing, and I just have admired your work literally from that day. You just do incredible things. So that's how Kayla and I got to know each other.
I love this podcast. I'm really enjoying this.
If you ever need to just get pumped up, just come sit for an hour. And then through that, Andy, you started a business, and I'll let you share that story, but that's how I first met you. Is you were this kind person who came to help. You did window washing at the time, but you had the biggest smile on your face, and you took the time to connect with people. And so I usually saw you, I was working later at night, like that's when I typically saw you, and one time you scared the crap out of me, but because you just came in and I didn't know what was going on, but I just really noticed like your intentionality to connect with humans was just so refreshing, and it felt like you genuinely care. And now that I know you even better, I know that
I genuinely freaking care.
Yes, is 100% the truth. So let's start with the story with, you were working for your agency. Andy what were you doing at the time? When did you get into your window cleaning business, and what did that look like?
So I'd worked in high-rise window cleaning a while ago, but then I had a back injury that kicked me out of that for a while. So I started doing just a lot less manual labor in my job, and I was bored. So I just kind of picked up window cleaning as a hobby, and then I decided, I'm like, well, let's go for it. Why not? It's time to renew my other license. I'm like, let's just go, not realizing what I was getting into at all. So I told Kayla, I want a window cleaning business, and she's like, I will build you the best window cleaning business.
That is a fact.
You want a cookie? I gave you a cookie.
She gave me a cookie. Yep. So I was on board, like, yeah, let's go try this new idea that I am excited about and have no idea what it entails, but let's do it. And Kayla got me set up, and I started in on the wonderful adventure with the highs and lows that is entrepreneurship. So yeah, that's probably when you saw me outside your window a few times at all hours of the day and night. In the summer, in the winter. Yeah, Mac 6 was my staple throughout the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a quick like curiosity question. So when you're doing like high-rise window cleaning, how do you not fall off of the building? And do you like use the suction cups like they see in movies, or like how does it work?
Ooh.
That's a good question. Very carefully. But so there's a couple different ways of doing it. But what I did was basically tie on to anchors at the top and rappel off the building. So there's always 2 ropes, 2 anchors.
That face is the correct face
Oh
to be
my
made.
gosh.
Yeah.
I loved it, but Kayla was not as much of a fan. She hates heights. I love heights. So the one time I brought her to watch me jump off a building downtown, she's like, God, no.
You're insane. You're an insane person.
Do you like rock climbing?
I would love to, but I never learned, and I've always been a little bit less than financially ready to jump in and get all the gear and learn it. But I'd love to.
Yeah, because you love the outdoors, right?
And height is peaceful for me. Just as a kid, I would always like climb up in a tree to escape whatever I was feeling. So we'll probably get into that at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, heights were always my happy place. No one else but me, just rocking in a tree.
That's so awesome. Yeah. It's so cool to like think back of like what we intuitively did as children was like our happy places. And then to like think about, wow, sometimes people are like, oh, children don't know what they're doing. We have to teach them everything. But they are very wise little beings. So talk to me about the messiness. Like, let's get real for a second.
It's our favorite way to get
real second. For just a millisecond.
So what was going on while you were building this window cleaning business? Why are you guys not still building the best window cleaning business in the world, which I believe you could if you wanted to, but like where was the shift and what was really happening?
A breakdown, I think, is what was going on with me. I didn't realize it at the time, but basically that was probably the start or the tipping point of my prolonged breakdown. So I really just didn't know how to handle emotions, really like how to process them through. So what happens is they just kind of stack up, and I would ignore them. And eventually the stack just became more than I could functionally continue operating with. So the business actually was a huge plus for me because it gave me the space to have days off, to shuffle the schedule when I needed to, especially with, the commercial accounts. Like, I can do this tomorrow. Like, I'm going to sit alone today and try and process, successfully or unsuccessfully. But yeah, there was like the lowest point for us in our marriage, for me personally.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
you were super depressed.
It was a
super
crapshoot.
anxious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, like the business gave space to process, but as we all know, business is extremely stressful. So I think while it was like a trade-off, the flexibility for, so much like execution work that I think later on we found out he probably has ADHD. And it was just like, it was just burying him in the like executive function, like self-led, very difficult.
The things I have the most difficulty with are the most critical to making money.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and you don't really care about making money. That's the other thing.
Or windows. I like people. So I would sacrifice oodles of time, energy, and money to do what I like love to do and felt right about doing. And like,
that's
expenses
not sustainable.
took us backseat, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So Kayla, how are you handling all of this during this period of time? I don't think I've ever asked that question. We've Andy and I
Ooh,
have talked a lot about
that's a good
what
question.
was happening with him, but what was going on in your world? Like, how are you processing all of this?
I went through a lot of very lonely times. Like I
Mhm.
did have people that were there for me and strong for me, but like, when your husband's like talking suicide and
Mhm.
stuff like that, like I found myself like planning alternative futures just in case, you know
Mm.
what I mean? And it's really,
Mhm.
really hard.
Mhm.
And then you don't want to tell your friends that because like they know him and you don't want to embarrass him because he's not,
Right.
comfortable sharing and stuff like that. So it was really lonely. And I did a lot of journaling, and
Yeah.
I got to places, probably once every year where I'm like, that's it. Like I'm
Mhm.
out. Like let's
Mhm.
separate our bank accounts. Like I can't do this. I can't pay for, all the inpatient stuff that you think you want. And like it was just really, really tough. And we were making very little money. And then something inside me would just bring me back and be like, you need to trust him. You need to let him go through this. Like you need to just understand that it'll be okay coming
Mhm.
out the other side. And it was like 3-4 years, but it was eventually, and it is now. And I'm so
Mhm.
grateful for that because it
Mhm.
was a crapshoot there for a minute.
For
I didn't
sure.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm so grateful because he's like my favorite person in the world, and I
Mhm.
can't imagine what would have happened if I'd have just like pulled out and called it quits. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the last episode, we talked a lot about my personal journey with my husband. So this hits home
Yeah.
very close. But what keeps coming up for me is like the day that I married my husband, I said for better or worse, and I like really meant it. And obviously, there are times where it just isn't going to work, and like that, there's no judgment or shame around that at
Yeah.
all. But for me, it's like, how would I want him to show up for me when he is so lost? And it's like, I don't want to equate this to a child because he's not my child, obviously, but like you don't just abandon people
Mhm.
who desperately need you in times of need. And I think it's interesting because there have even been moments in my own short journey where I'm like, I can't handle this,
Yeah.
and like I've got to figure out a plan, because you go into like self-preservation mode. And also for, especially now, I had children, I have children, not past tense, they're still here, thank goodness. Whew. It's like I've got to protect them, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
to your point, like I can't imagine a future without him, and I can't imagine just letting someone suffer and be so lost and be like, well,
Yeah.
figure it out, see you later.
Yeah. I think one
And
thing for me was like I saw him trying. I
Yeah.
saw him putting in the effort. He
Mhm.
has always loved me, even
love
though
the
he
hell out
wasn't
of you.
always like,
Mhm.
the most nice to me. Like he never vilified me. He never made me
Mm.
like feel bad about, you know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
never like abused me emotionally and stuff like that. And then I saw him like just show, this man is one of the most like ballsy, strong motherfuckers. He
Mm.
will show up every day, and like he gets hit in the head with a 2x4 emotionally, and
Aw.
he like, and he's back up. He's like, I can do this all day, Captain America. And so like I watched that over and over, week after week, and like he never gave up, and so I never gave up either.
That's
And
it.
I think not everyone has that luxury of having a partner who's like just so committed to the marriage, so committed to the family
Yeah.
that like they will not give up. And
I
so
I love you.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
Aw.
that's never been a question of like, oh man, maybe I just
just make it with someone
should
else.
have someone better.
Yeah.
I'm like, nah, you're it. Like you're the top. So, but yeah, I feel incredibly grateful for you sticking with me. But I'd also just say that like I don't think I had deserved that. And
Mm.
I would say that it might be different for other people.
I
So
would
I
too.
just want to say like I feel really fortunate I was extended more grace than I had earned. And
Mm.
and like even just in terms of a marriage, like I wouldn't say that's right for everyone.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
isn't
for
our plug
sure.
for staying with an abusive
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
right,
yeah.
right. We're not trying to go down that path at
No,
all.
no,
But I
no.
have a question on that. How do you get past, because what I feel, or what I'm experiencing from my own
Mm.
relationship, is there's a tremendous amount of guilt and unworthiness, like feeling like I'm not worthy for the grace that you're granting me. And in my mind, it's like I have my own boundaries, right? Like I'm real clear, like, and
Mhm.
he's putting in the work. Like there's no abusiveness going,
Mhm.
those sorts. There's clear. Oh my gosh, I almost just spilled water all over
What do we
everything.
say about water about the
No.
equipment? No.
But so I have clear boundaries there. But it's this constant like feeling of guilt and unworthiness where I'm like, no, man, like just take it, like right now, like accept the offer, because I feel like the guilt is almost getting in the way of like the healing piece. So how did
Mm.
you overcome that, Andy?
Ha, ha, ha.
Years, probably.
Mm.
Have you
Because
overcome it? Because if you say you have, I'm gonna call bullshit.
ooh, that's interesting because I would have said that I think I have.
I mean, I think it's a
so
lot
call
better, so
bullshit.
go ahead.
Yeah. I'm interested in that one though, because it's funny because I think I was kind of flip flopped
Mm.
because I thought you sure as hell deserve
Yeah, you were
like
pretty
you do
entitled
owe
as
me
well. Yeah.
because for like I was like for better or worse,
Oh,
because
interesting.
I thought so. Okay, just a little context, right? So the window cleaning business, not making a bunch of money because Andy's weakest skill sets during breakdown and just a general inability to do the job that it
Mhm.
needed to make money. So I needed therapy. I was going through a breakdown in a 12-step program, and I was basically like, sponsor doesn't need therapy. I need therapy. Let's do it. Swipe the card. So I was racking up debt for us at an unsustainable rate.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of, in my mind at that time, like, this is the deal. Like, I do it for you, you do it for me. This is the deal. But I really felt like she owed it to me to like stay to the end where to the
Yeah.
end. I mean, for me, that looked like suicide at some point, probably, which I would disagree with now.
Mm.
And at this point, I feel like I have a much more, I would think, reasonable view of like, okay, there are limitations. And I didn't have a good idea of her boundaries. She had a good idea of her boundaries, I believe, maybe.
I developed a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, but I didn't. So I'm like, this is the deal. We're together. So since
Yeah.
then, I've started to realize I'm like, okay, within constraints, right? Within
Yeah.
healthy boundaries. And like,
Yeah.
especially having a kid now,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah, we didn't have a kid when we went through all
Mhm.
this.
Yeah.
And that would have changed a lot of things, I think.
So at this point, I wouldn't say I feel guilt about my shortcomings where it's like, it's an Andy season. It's like this quarter is Andy. This
Mm.
quarter is Kayla. This year is Kayla.
Mm.
This year is Andy. So
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, I'm able to support her in a way that I couldn't have at the time.
Mm.
But
That's
yeah, I would love
100%
to hear
true.
your take on that.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And what you just said, I would just say, like, to Jen's question about the guilt, like, you still apologize to me for like taking up my time,
yeah.
quote unquote. Like after
Mm.
we'll have a conversation, you're like, I feel like shit today. Like you're like, yeah, I'm sorry. I just, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, it's fine. Like
That's true.
that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we're
Yeah.
doing. So
Sorry, I'm
Mhm.
not feeling good today. You're like,
Yeah.
you
Right.
don't have to feel good
Good
today.
every day, right? Like,
Right.
yeah. So interesting. Thank you. It's helpful. This is like my own therapy session. So appreciate
I mean,
And somehow our own too. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll talk about this on the drive home.
Yeah.
oh, we'll
very
be
good.
talking about this on the drive.
So I think this is some really great context because what we just did, I think for a lot of people probably feels really vulnerable, right? And granted that we know each other and we have some context,
It's
but
still
we
vulnerable.
but we do have
Oh, yeah.
microphones and cameras and lights in front of our face.
It's live. Yeah.
And it's live, like all the things. But I want to bring in the Raft Project because I think there's a piece of vulnerability that happens there, but it's such a special project community that you guys are building. So if you could, let's just explain what it is, because I think everyone in the world needs to know about it and have the opportunity to do kind of sort of some version of what we just did, more or less. But explain to me, what is the Raft Project?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you so much for saying that because we kind of agree, at least for us. Yeah, so in 2018, when Andy was in the middle of his breakdown and we were in the middle of entrepreneurship, we were like, we're dying.
Mhm.
And we would go to networking events and stuff and be like, we're dying. But you can't say that
Yeah.
at a networking event. It's like
No.
not received well. Yeah. So
Okay, tell
No,
me
it's
about your
not.
business win. Can I
Yeah.
tell you that I'm barely breathing today
There
and
it
I just
is.
showed up. So
Dependability.
I will definitely be there for you though, if
punctuality,
you were to
yeah.
hire me. So like we're all good, but like I'm not okay. It's you just
Yeah.
doesn't no. And so we would go into these spaces and stuff and just be like, we cannot be the only ones dealing with this. This is freaking stressful.
Mhm.
And come to find out, like after a couple conversations, we weren't.
Mhm.
There just wasn't a place that we saw until you got to a certain like income threshold in your business
Sure.
to like get real and like talk to
Mhm.
people and ask for help. You know what I mean? And so we spent like, I was like, you know what? I think I can fix this. Let's see. Let's see if we can. So we got some really brilliant entrepreneur friends of ours who became really close friends after that process.
Who had also opened up and shared their vulnerability.
Correct. And we
Mm.
just like came together and we're like, we got to fix this. Like, what can we do? And so we came up with, you know, some systems, some frameworks for conversations, and we started running meetings, like support meetings. And we did that for like 3 years. And then we had our baby and COVID hit. Go ahead.
Support meetings, just because that's such a broad term. Like
Sure.
specifically, one thing that I learned kind of in my 12-step process was the amazing like relief for me that came from their communities. So
Mhm.
in the program I was in, every day you make 3 phone calls. So you make one to your sponsor, one to someone that you like need to draw from, and someone that you need to give to. So
Mm.
every day you're making 3 phone calls, and you want to spread them out to different people. So it's just basically a check-in with someone who is going relatively the same direction. Specifically, you know, for that point, it was about addiction, but that gave me life like I had never
Mm.
experienced before, to have a contact list in my phone of people that
Yeah.
I'm like, it's a shit day. Like, I'm calling people,
Mhm.
and they could help talk me through it and like get me back to some stability. So
Yeah.
meetings, the reason we, you know, started initially with meetings is like the power of people who are in a similar boat, going
Mhm.
after a similar thing, or at least can just be there to support and hold you when you need help, and know that you're going to do the same for them. So
It's really good.
that was the
Yeah. Well done.
Cool.
Yeah,
That was what started the meetings. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
amazing. And I think just having people in your phone that you can reach out to is such a gift that sometimes if you have a big community, you take for granted. But I think what hit home for me is one of the stories that you guys actually shared on your social media, that you asked the question, like when you're having a bad day or something
Mhm.
hard happens, who do you tell? And it was a large percentage,
That was like 44%
44% or something like
Yeah.
that,
Was no one.
was
Yeah.
no one.
Yeah.
No one.
I mean, at least for the people we pulled. Yeah.
Right.
Which is the thing is, it's crazy when you hear it, but it's actually not it's completely understandable, because like we all live here. At least, you know, us 3 live in America, and like we've lived in America all our lives, and it, at least here, and I'm not going to speak for the rest of the world, but like we don't talk about shit. And it's, if you do talk about it, it gets weird. Like it can.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
Especially
very
with dudes.
vulnerable, especially with men.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. And I think tell me if you agree with this. It feels like the tide is shifting a bit, but not at the pace that it needs to, right? I feel like there's more men suffering in silence than the shift that's happening, and I'm really fearful for men of all ages, but also like our younger generations who've gone through a lot of different things. Even, you know, people our age who we had, like for me, so I graduated college in 06, 05 actually. Oh gosh, I don't even know. But I came out of college, the Great Recession hit. I was in real estate and interior design. I went and worked for a nonprofit. They did their first ever layoffs in the history of the organization. Thankfully I wasn't laid off, but I had to go through that experience. And then when I turned 18, we had 9/11. Then we, like, if you think about all the series of things, and then the pandemic, raising kids, like kids under 5 during the pandemic, I don't even, and I mean, not even under 5, like school age kids trying to go. Anyways, my point of all of that is there is a lot of hurting people. And so it's odd to me that we have this collective experience and no one can talk about it.
Right.
It is.
It's like eerie.
It's
like,
weird.
what is
counterintuitive.
happening? Yeah.
Yes.
Because if I were to walk down the street during school hours during the pandemic and knock on doors and be like, hey, are you like strongly not okay, slightly not okay, fine, you know, or really great? Like, I think the answer would not probably cross above medium for most people.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But when you see them on the street, smile, wave, look at the cute dog who's all groomed up, you're like, you are not where I am at today.
Right.
But they probably are.
They
Right.
they like, And that's a thing that I've learned, because I used to think, like, growing up, I used to think everybody's fine. Like, what are we talking
What's
about?
my problem?
What's my problem? And like, I'm not, like, people don't need my help. They're fine. They're doing it.
Mhm.
And like, the more, you know, in my almost 30 years of living, like, I'm like, no one is fine.
No one
is fine. At any given time, everyone's going through something. I had no idea.
It's so true. And it almost takes some either an experience in your life or a tragedy or something for people to start to reveal themselves, because
For me, it's been him. Like, he comes into my life, and like, all of my friends I've known for like 10 years, and he's like, man, like, I had no idea they were struggling like that. I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And
we
like,
just had
they
a
just
heart to heart,
right.
like-
And like, people just open up to him like nothing
Mm.
I've ever seen. It's like he has "I care about you" written on his forehead, and people can just tell. And so I watch people like just unravel themselves with him. And I'm like, I've known you for 15 years. I didn't know you were on antidepressants. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, for sure. So where does that come from, Andy? Like, how do you have this magical ability?
He's a unicorn.
He is.
I know my mom would have an answer for that.
Should we phone a friend?
She said
No.
she says it was like from birth. She says
does
as
say
a
that,
baby,
yeah.
like, people
Mm.
would just like stop by his, you know, stroller and like say hi.
And I wanted to say hi to them, evidently. So having no recollection of infancy, like, evidently I just wanted to be friends with people, and I just wanted to talk to people. I think my family is kind of a strange mix, because they're both very emotional, my mom and my dad.
Mhm.
My dad isn't very, at the time at least, wasn't very comfortable with his emotions, but very emotional.
Mhm.
So I didn't get that beat out of me as a
Mm.
young boy, I don't think.
Mm-mm.
So yeah, so stuff around emotions still working through, but like, it was a very non-sterile environment.
Yeah, it's interesting though that you have this like ability to be super empathetic and connect with humans, and yet when we started, you were talking about your breakdown starting from like emotion stacking, not knowing how to process emotion. So how is there that disconnect of like, you can connect and intuitively know like what people are feeling and understand and relate to their emotions, but you didn't know what or how to process your emotions? Like, how do you reconcile that in your head?
That's interesting. I think there are tools, like
Mhm.
legitimate tools, that would help you kind of work through, understand, and like resolve certain emotions, or at
Mhm.
least just work through the process of them and accept them or not. But I didn't have that skill set.
Mm.
And I don't think really many people in my circle growing up had that skill set.
Yeah.
But we all felt very strongly.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I mean, I'm curious from your perspective, Kayla, because I felt like when you first knew me, I cared very deeply about everyone, for sure. And I was always like, I would open up first, but I feel like my empathy skills were low because I was also kind of drowning. So I mean, like, I cared very deeply. I would listen, but I had that tendency to make it about me pretty quick.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think you hit it on the nose when you said like you open up first, which I think like he circumvents social norms like no one I've ever seen.
Oh,
And it
yeah,
used to
screw
make me
social
really
norms.
uncomfortable. But now it doesn't, because I watch what happens when he does it and people just like melt, and I'm like,
On this, I hope you don't kill me for bringing this up, but
I
I'm
will
so
never, no.
curious since we talked. You were noodling this idea
oh, yeah.
of not accepting business cards from people you didn't ask for. Talking about social
Yeah.
norms. So I just want to check in. Where are you with this? And have you found like what you're going to say, or like where are we with this?
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know, because I was honestly thinking about it the last couple days, knowing that we were going to have this. I'm like, the last time we spoke, it was right on the way out the door. I
Yeah.
basically said, like, I don't think I'm going to accept business cards I didn't ask for. And Jen's like,
What?
"Ooh, how
I-
do you see that going?"
It's
So-
more of like the awkwardness. Like for me, I would rather just do something
Yeah.
to like not make it awkward. But I respect so much that you were like, no, this is my boundary. And you weren't, it's not from a like unkind place. That's what we were talking about. It's like,
I
how do you
love people.
kindly do it, but still respect your boundary because you've decided that like that's just not your jam.
So-
So I just wanted an update.
This has caused me a lot of friction in
Mm.
my life, first of all. So take it with a grain of salt and decide if you like it. May wait 5 years and decide if I'm still doing it or not. But like, in general, when I see a system or something that is not working the way that I think it should be, I'm like, oh, that's not right. I won't do it. And a lot of systems exist that I think are not right, but are incredibly common. So like to me, like the feeling of I want something from you, take my business card. I'm like, no, no, thank you. I don't think so. Thanks. I don't take business cards I didn't ask for, but I appreciate it.
It's making me
So,
cringe so much.
Yeah,
It
it's
is-
making me uncomfortable too, but I don't like it. I'm not going to do that to other people, and I don't think that we should be doing it to each other. So I think I'm going to stop doing it. I think.
That's awesome.
Sorry, Kayla. In advance, I'm sorry for the discomfort
mean-
that it will cause you, but I'm not sorry for taking a step in a direction I believe is right. But I'm sorry it's going to suck a few times.
I am so with you, and I agree we should stop doing it because it's just ridiculous. But I'm not as bold as you, so I'll just like stand behind you and
That's
like
what
what
I
he
do.
said.
So I
Yep.
think, like, in all fairness, like, I think I undiagnosed ADHD. Pretty damn sure got ADHD, but I don't have the paperwork. So there are some people who might say nah. So I'm just saying. But like, I'm pretty short term in my vision. So just take it all with a grain of salt. Take what you like.
Well, and
But-
yeah, you can't see the consequences of you doing certain
Which
things.
I think is a
so
gift, but
it
it's
makes
also a
you-
vulnerability.
Yeah, it makes you so brave because you're
Yeah.
like, nah, I don't know.
I'm
What'll
not
happen?
doing it.
And
Yeah.
I will love, like, that's the thing that I anticipate that I worry about is because there are people that I care about that will offer a business card out of habit. And I would love to let them down gently because I do really care about them. And it's not just like, nah, screw you.
Can
I don't
you
want your business
replace
card.
it with like, oh, no thanks, but let's grab coffee sometime?
Oh, yeah. And that's what I was thinking. Like, if you want to text me,
Yeah.
yeah, text me.
And they're like, I don't have your number because you didn't give me your card.
Here, get your phone. I'll text you. Text
Okay.
me. Like, I have no problem staying in touch if that's what someone wants to do, but that's not usually what a business card means. It means
Yeah.
buy from me,
Yeah.
So
or I'm gonna spam you.
on this, do you guys have business cards, and do you intend to have, or do you intend to have
We
them?
don't have them, and I haven't brought it up to Kayla that I don't want to have them.
I think we
but
did have that conversation because I was
Did we?
like, should I make business cards? And you were like, no. Okay.
I mean, a lot of people, there's so many digital ways, to your point, to stay
Mhm.
connected. So there's a lot of businesses that are, so I feel like you've got some friends in this camp. But switching gears just a little bit, I have so many more questions, but switching gears just a little bit, Kayla, I want to focus on you for a minute and think about your journey. When we kind of reconnected about a year ago, I would say, and you started coming to some of my mastermind groups and different things, and we were talking, you're like, I don't know, I think I'm ready to start something, but I'm not quite ready. Like I have an idea percolating. So take us through that process of like how this idea like was really like, yep, this is it. How do I step into that CEO role? Because you have supported hundreds, if not thousands of local businesses, maybe not even just local businesses.
Yeah, not thousands, but yeah,
I mean, maybe
hundreds, definitely.
So how did you like take us through that process of that switch and transition?
Yeah, I mean, it's been, I don't really use religious terms anymore, but it's been faith in something that I don't know what, but yeah, we stopped doing our entrepreneurial support meetings in 2021, I think, because it was just too much with the baby and everything. And so it was just a time for me to really pull back and I think just focus on my kid and focus on our relationship. And we moved in that time. And then in early 2022, I just got this like sense. I think I'm an extremely intuitive person. And I just got the sense that like, this is your year. So I've always been interested in entrepreneurship. I love being in charge of things. I love being bossy. But really, I just love taking care of people. And I think leadership is a way that I do that. And so I just felt like it was time. And what that looked like, I had no idea. So I did a lot of personal development in Q1 this year, just trying to prepare and just was like waiting for the ideas. Like you remember I came to your mastermind and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I want to do something. And
the timing feels right.
yeah, the timing was right and I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly, you're like, I'm just waiting for the download. And it's coming, but I'm not 100% yet. And
Right.
I love that the ability for you to be patient and
Ha
confident.
ha ha.
I
I'm
have
like, it's so
to-
funny because I'm not a patient person at all. So this is like nails on chalkboard for me, but it always works.
That's what I was
Mhm.
gonna say. I'm like, I've got to plug her patience and like die hard willingness to stick to what she thinks is right. Because I mean, it was 2 years of stay at home wife
And
and
mom.
stay at home mom
Mm.
with no traction, no movement
No
besides
influence.
the
No,
home, which
Mm.
drove her up the
that's
freaking wall.
not my
Yeah.
jam. I respect it a ton, but I
you did your
hate it
work.
personally.
Yeah,
Yes, I
for
did my
sure.
work. Yeah.
How soon into that journey did you realize like, this might not be for me?
Immediately. I think, yeah, it took me a year, like after I quit my job and did the window cleaning business with him. It took me like a year to kind of, recalibrate, find myself, after college and after school. And like, there's just a lot of conditioning influences, I think, especially on women.
Mhm.
But after that, I was like, okay, what are we doing? Like, let's get it going. I'm ready. And then it was like another 3 years. And I was like, so by this year, I was so ready and so excited
ready.
and full of vinegar. And I'm so excited because I finally get to do something.
Yes. I mean, and I think a lot of us have been waiting and watching, like, they're going to do something big. We just don't know quite what it is. So let's get into kind of some of the logistics and nuts and bolts of the Raft Project.
Yeah.
So how do you come to a meeting? What does it look like? How often can you come? Like all of the details to kind of give our audience a little bit of idea of like what it looks like to be a part of the community.
Yeah, I think I should probably say, because I haven't said this yet, we started working on the framework for entrepreneurs. And this year, I really felt like it was not supposed to be just for entrepreneurs. It was supposed to
Yeah.
be just kind of like an open group for people who
Mm.
are kind of emotionally intelligent, kind of trying to do their work, trying to be in community kind of a thing. So we're excited about that for it just being, because I don't know why we do this. Actually, I do. There's some definite benefits to support groups for a certain life stage or addiction or goal, because you
Mhm.
can, if you're trying to move forward, you can kind of bounce off and get like industry specific, quote unquote, like advice for
Mhm.
that specific thing. But for us, we were just like, it's just emotional support. It's just, hey, I see you. I see
Mhm.
what you're going through. Maybe I've been through it. Maybe I haven't. Maybe I've been through something similar, but I've definitely felt the feeling that
Yeah.
you're feeling at
Mhm.
some point in my life. And I can have empathy for that. And like, I can just listen and say, good for you. And you're loved. Right.
Yeah.
So yes, like you said, we,
Yeah.
our platform for doing that is meetings. And so it's on Zoom right now. We would like to do conferences eventually, but for now it's Zoom meetings. And so we come in to a big group and we read through our like community guidelines, our framework, we call it, of like how we're going to engage with each other in a safe way and try not to, crush each other while we're being so vulnerable.
Mhm.
And then we break off into groups of 4 and we go through what we call our REAL, REAL, and it's just a system for connection so that everyone gets equal time. Everyone is able to ask for the feedback that they would like to receive. So we're not just like preaching at each other.
Mhm.
And so far I mean, every time we run it, I'm honestly, and I'm not like, trying to be arrogant or whatever, but people are incredible. And the people that come
Mhm.
into our groups are incredible. And like, just the wisdom that comes out of people and like the love is there, and it just feels like pixie
strangers.
dust. It feels
Yeah.
like magic on those meetings, and I love them. I love being in them. Yeah.
For sure. So can I share my perspective of the meetings?
Oh,
I
is
was
it
hoping
nice?
you
No.
would, but I didn't
Yeah.
want to ask
Go
you
ahead.
to.
Oh, is it nice? Well, no, yes, of course it's nice.
Regardless, Sharon.
Yes. So I got to attend a meeting last week, I think. And so I come from a perspective of knowing you guys, like we just talked about. We've done some strategy work together. So I had a little bit of an insider's view of like what you were trying to build. From the moment you guys have shared your idea, I have been like, yes, this is what we need. This is so amazing. But I've also done a tremendous amount of my own personal work. I help people heal from trauma. Like I would say that I'm kind of a personal development junkie, right?
Mhm.
Go to therapy, big fan of all the things. And so there was this little piece of me that was like, yeah, this is amazing. This is great. The world needs it.
Mm.
Oh, but I'm good. I'm fine. I don't need it. Right.
You're
But-
doing your work.
But
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
this is for people who don't maybe not have a community. Like I have a whole list of people I can call and all the things.
Yeah.
So, but I was like, no, I want to check it out because I really do like the framework. I love that you guys have a very specific way to make the community safe versus just saying like, this is a safe space and just letting people like do whatever they want. But
Yeah.
there's a specific process.
Yeah.
And for me, some of the little control freak in me likes that it's like confined, like, right.
Yeah.
It's like a very, because the last thing anyone wants is, as empathetic as we can be, and maybe I'm going to sound like a real jerk here, but like, I can't listen to someone for an hour and a half
Oh, facts.
and then be like, all right, well, gotta go.
Have a good one. Yeah.
So those are the things I really enjoyed. So I joined my meeting last week or the week before. And I am not saying this. I'm like, this is my honest to God feedback. It was the highlight of my day, the highlight of my week,
Oh.
highlight of my month probably. And I got so much out of it because it's a different context than all the other support pieces.
Sure.
So it is truly incredible to be a part of a group where there's no ulterior motives here, right? It's
Yeah.
not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pretend to care about you and then I'm gonna send you like, here's my services, like all the things like that. That's not part of this community. And the feedback and support and ideas were incredible. And one of the people in our group, like we were talking about something that we had a similar experience and we're like, we could text each other.
Yeah.
And we still text each other
Oh, I
and
love
share things. And it was just
High five for Jen.
and I swear to God, this is an honest account of I can't even fully articulate it other than it's something different than what you experience in other places. And it's not a replacement. You guys
No.
are very clear about this. It's not a replacement for therapy or for all the other things. But it's this like addition that is like this thing that intuitively you need, but you don't consciously know that you need until you experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my advice for anybody who's thinking about joining the community but's feeling scared, right? Because vulnerability is scary for a lot of people.
Extremely.
If it's not scary, it's not vulnerability.
That's
I
right.
think.
That's so
right.
true. Because I mean, I was even really nervous getting on the
Right.
call, like, oh gosh, what am I going to say? What do I do? But what I just would really encourage somebody is to just try a meeting and be open. Even if you're like me, where you're like, I'm good, I got it. And which is also a little crazy for me to think because we've gone through some serious stuff in the last 3 months. So for me to be like, I'm fine.
Oh, but facts.
But-
Facts.
So I don't know how else to say other than just try it. And I think we have a little bit of time. So what I'd like to do is give our audience just a quick little taste of what to expect from a meeting, because sometimes that unknown can be prevent you from signing up. So
yes.
are you guys up for doing a reel?
That sounds like
Hell
so
yeah.
much
Let's do
fun.
it.
How much time do we have? Do
Okay,
you know?
so I think we have maybe like 10 minutes before we need to wrap.
Perfect.
Do like a 5-minute reel then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we just do like 1 minute RE
yeah,
and
I
then
was
like
thinking.
3 minutes? Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
it.
All right. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys to lead.
Everyone's pointing at me.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah,
that
Voluntold.
Voluntold. Running my reel. So
Should we do yours
Can
or
I ex-
Jen's? Do you want to
Are you
do it
feeling up for
one?
one?
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have
Love
one
it.
in my head, but we'll just go with it.
Well, that's
so
the
if
point,
you don't
yeah.
mind me, I'll set the stage for it, right?
Yeah.
So real, REAL. It's basically just kind of baby steps to like set up for people supporting each other the way that we naturally want to. So first of all, R, rate. On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your day looking like? 1, it absolutely sucks, bottom of the barrel. 10, cloud 9. I mean, cloud 10, whatever. Where are we landing on your number scale today?
Can I have 2 numbers? That was a question I did have for real.
Sure.
Sure.
I think that's breaking the rules.
It's
But-
bending the rules.
okay. Like my first number intuitively was an 8, but there's also a part of me that's like a 2 or 3.
Mm.
I love
So-
that answer so much.
And it's like 50-50. It's not like,
Yeah.
and so what I So now I'm in the explain.
Yep. So
Yeah,
E is
so E.
explain. So a little rundown on your number. Go ahead.
So there's some really awesome things happening. Like today, a radio show. Like I have my big anniversary party tomorrow. Like so many great things. And so I'm really genuinely excited about that. And then on the other side, I have some stuff personally. My husband is dealing with some stuff, and I feel like we're going backwards instead of forwards. And so I'm not here to share his story, but I'm trying to be the support and figure that out. But it's very scary. And we just keep finding more things that we have to deal with from situations that happened this summer. So that's very stressful. So I have that side. So it's like I really do feel like I'm like yin and yang, like great and bad, which I think is kind of life.
Oh yeah, the number of times that I have like I am a 2 and a 9. It's like
Right.
the two numbers really, yeah. And that
Yeah.
sounds like, and did you say it's 8 and 2, or did you say 7 and 2?
8 and 2, I think.
Yeah, like that sounds exactly right for both of them. So rate, explain, ask. In this little time of feedback, what kind of support are you looking for? Like, what would you love to walk away having had happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think my tendency lately is to over focus on all the good things and just be like, well, oh yeah, all this is bad over here, but look, I have all this stuff. And it's almost starting to feel artificial. And I don't want to be that person that's like, I'm great, everything's fine. Meanwhile, they're like, the house is on fire and like children are running naked and all sorts of things. I mean, nothing wrong with, I was going to say nothing wrong with naked children, like your naked children. Anyways, that's going in a bad place that I did not intend. So what I'm asking for is any ideas or thoughts on how to be authentic with
I hate this question.
I love this question.
well, that's good. How to be authentic with acknowledging the good and the bad, but like showing up, like how do I get what's the duality in my brain of I feel really good right now, and maybe this is the root I'm processing as I'm talking. I feel really good right now and I'm really excited and I have guilt that I feel good because I have all this other stuff that I should probably be crying and like in the fetal position. So my question is, what is my question? How do I wrap my brain around the duality of it? And how do my biggest fear is that I'm fooling myself that I'm okay when I'm not. So how do I?
This is just me.
L.
Thank you.
Yeah.
L for listen, right? So now's your chance to listen and to receive what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to get us back on track if we start getting off track at any point. My first thought is like, you are already doing it. Like you just sat down in the course of 3 minutes or whatever, you rated your day, you accepted the high part, the low part, and you already said, here's what's going on. Like, this is my honest to God perspective of what's happening right now. And you already are doing the duality and both are real and both make sense. And I would be shocked if you were not having two feelings based off of like our personal conversations. Like that is very reasonable to have two feelings for prolonged periods of time.
But I don't like it.
Oh, they're a bitch. Yeah. but they suck. But they're real. And it would be it makes so much sense that they are there. And the 8 feelings also make sense. Like you can't really function very well at 2. And there are good things too. So like I would here's my question is like if we're swapped out and I'm like 2, really hard day for me, but 8 also really good things, but I feel really guilty about the 8. What would you tell me?
Oh, turning around on me. What you just said to me. That both things can be true at the same time. And that there's a time and place to honor all of it, right? And the 2 doesn't take away. It's kind of what I tell my kids, like when I say one person so XYZ, another one's like, you don't love me. Like there's a time and place for the 8. Doesn't mean that it affects the 2, right? Like you can honor and accept the 2 and honor and accept the 8. And they both can be true. But why?
I would say, I don't know. Can I do feedback?
Yeah,
Okay.
go.
Yeah, I think just coming from a similar place where like you are the strong one
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of pressure. And I think you can't, for me, I don't know about you, I can't operate at a 2 and be the strong one.
Right.
I just can't like do daily life at a
Yeah.
2 and still show up and support everyone, still move my business forward. So I would say like there's a solid amount of like, I don't want to say delusion because you are like acknowledging it, but like moment to moment delusion
Mm-hmm.
of just like, this is what I'm focusing on right now. And I really don't have the time and space
Mm-hmm.
to like sit in the 2
Yeah.
feelings right now. Like I can't break down. I can't, you know, my
Yeah.
kids need me, my husband needs me, my business. So I would just
Yeah.
say like, don't feel guilty about it because you're surviving. And that's what surviving is. And I'm sure
Mhm.
your body will let you know in a couple years, hey,
Yeah.
there's all this stuff that you forgot about that we have not forgot about that we'd
my
like to deal with.
I think it's like a landscaping project in the backyard. Like, congratulations, you have 3 tons of dirt dumped at the side gate. Great. So you've got some time. Like, this is a 2-year project. If you want to
Mm.
space it out, just do it every weekend or something. Just take a
Mhm.
wheelbarrow over here, put it down, go on about your life. Like,
Mm.
just
Mm.
it's not like the dirt's not there, but like you've got time. And this
Yeah.
is just time consuming for everyone involved.
It is.
Yeah, for sure. That's great advice.
And you are kicking ass.
You are
Oh.
kicking
See, this is why everyone needs to come to this group because
ass.
you get pumped up just like you said I did to you. Everyone in the
did.
community, and that's the thing that's beautiful is it's not just the 2 of you; it's everyone in the community
Right.
that is aligned. We have clear guidelines. People, I think, very quickly you'll have to tell me opt in and opt out. Like if it's not for them, it would be quickly.
So I guess the
apparent.
one thing I'd say on that is like you have your freedom and your boundaries. Like come to as many or as
Yeah.
little as you want.
Yeah.
Share as much or as little as you want. Like
Yeah.
you don't have to go deep. If you're like, I'm kind of stressed about work today.
I had a
That's
bad
all you got.
lunch today and I didn't like my lunch and I'd like to talk about the lunch that I had that I did not like. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're in charge of the whole process, and like I think beyond the meetings, like having that personal responsibility and like 2 hands on the wheel. Like I think
Yeah.
it's important. But thank you for running a reel with us here and
Yeah.
obviously last week too. But like you're an incredibly kind and open person, and I think you doing that first helps a ton of people more than you will possibly see
Yes.
in your lifetime.
Oh, thank you. I hope so. I hope this helped give our audience a better idea of what to experience so that it takes some of the mystery and anxiety. So that I was listening, this is a little bit of a tangent, but I was listening to somebody. Oh, okay, this is a story. And then I know we have to wrap up, but then we will. There was a lady on the Today Show. I'm gonna land the plane, I promise. There was a lady on the Today Show that she went through the pandemic. Well, before that, she had social anxiety and she got really nervous meeting people.
Mm.
But she was single and living in New York City. The pandemic hit. She was in
Mm.
her apartment, got
Oof.
super depressed through 2020. So she decided in 2021, maybe 2022, she was going to step outside of her comfort zone and have a sandwich with a stranger every week, I think. Maybe every day, but I feel like it was
Gutsy.
every week.
Wow.
So she made all these random connections. She would go out of her way for strangers, invite them to sandwiches. And she met all these incredible people, all these things. And she said every single time to this day, she's still doing it. She gets so nervous and butterflies in her stomach and is like, what's going to happen of the unknown. And she said, eventually your feet just start to move in the direction you need to go. And all you have to do is show up. So my advice to anybody considering the Raft Project is just let your feet or your fingers go to the Zoom link and show up. Because you definitely won't regret it. So
Wow. That's so
You're
good.
a really nice person.
We get so much we need it. That's the thing. Our members are so smart and I've gotten so many like light bulb moments that completely changed my life from people who are just like they'll never know that they did that and had that like impact. But
They help me not be numb. Like I literally
Yeah.
host a thing and check in with myself 3 times a week, and it feels great.
That's awesome.
Kinda
So
great.
good.
It feels great on the other side. Yeah.
Yeah, on the other, exactly. Doing the work is hard. Okay, so in wrapping up, if people want to learn more about the Raft Project, how do they get connected with you? Where do they follow you? All the things.
Yeah, so we're basically everywhere but Twitter at the Raft Project. So like, yeah, just how you would think you would spell it.
Mm-hmm.
And Andy and I are Andy Izard, Kayla Izard. And so, but the website is www.theraftproject.com. And
TikTok
feel
is the
free
Raft
to,
Project.
yeah, TikTok. Feel free to DM us. I mean, obviously we love to have conversations. So
I love it most. So.
yeah, DM Andy. It'll be
Yes.
great.
Just don't give him your business card.
Yeah, no.
Unless he asks.
You won't get one, so
Yep.
you can ask.
That's true. But I'd still like to talk. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this conversation today. I really appreciate it. Thanks for
love you,
joining me.
Jen.
We
Thank you for having
love
us.
you,
guys.
Jen. Thank
I
you
love
so
guys.
much for doing this with us. This has been amazing.
Absolutely.
You have been listening to the Messy Middle podcast and radio show, presented by Mother and Founder Co. We hope you have found a few pieces of wisdom to help you navigate your own messy middle. Be sure to subscribe to The Messy Middle on your favorite podcast platform and follow Jen Burwell and Mother and Founder Co. on Instagram. Remember, beginnings are usually scary and endings can sometimes be sad, but it's the middle that counts the most. Until next time, stay curious, kind, and messy.